traffic and difficulty getting to areas like this in the early morning hours. And what we're going to present today is Soldier-deployable geospatial technologies, where we're trying to break the paradigm, the top-down paradigm, where high-quality, high-resolution geospatial data gets to the soldier at the soldier level. Where are we at here? Yeah, good. So basically, SDGT defines a series of technologies, or a collection of technologies, that enables the warfighter to render the area of interest in a high resolution and understand his environment and create products himself. And to do this, we fused laser scanning, which is an active tactical modality, with drone mapping capabilities. And as everyone knows in the room, drones have taken off and created a whole new lane for remote sensing technologies that we thought that are even beyond our imagination. With that, we've developed an optical radar system that we merge with that to render a 3D environment for the warfighter for visualization and rehearsal. Finally, Ricky's going to discuss FMV to 3D. This is using full motion video, collecting full motion video from existing platforms, and turning those into three-dimensional data and ortho-rectified map data products. So I mentioned the SDGT concept. To your left is really the current paradigm, where not all echelons are fed the same resolution, same quality of data, not even the same year timestamp data. And that's really from larger assets. What we're trying to do is, at the tactical level, bring smaller, agile, expendable in a lot of cases, multi-resolution, multi-sensor assets from the ground up. So this would be data produced at the squad level, ultimately, exploited and then logged to an enterprise system for exploitation by everyone. We spend a fair amount of time at Fort Leonard Wood at an experimental forward operating base there that is continuously manned. And in so doing, we learned a lot about the lack of geospatial awareness. And with rotating soldiers coming through what is known as the CBTEC FOB, we conceived the idea of combining laser scanning, which I said is an active topographic mapping technology, elevating that on a mast. And we've also begun to transition this optical radar to the GBOS-E, which is the ground-based surveillance system, for the FY18 build, which is an Army Marine co-build for that deployable surveillance system. That mast-mounted laser scanner produces 3D data out to 2 kilometers, but it has gaps because as the beam travels across the topography, there are areas where the laser cannot penetrate, or the laser is blind, where you have shadows. So to fill in those gaps, we've introduced small deployable micro UAS. This is commercial technology. The bird has a sister. The sister was in Erbil last year. We'll go through that, but basically it is a perfect modality to collect high-resolution EO data and fill in the gaps of the GBOS LiDAR. Some examples of the data that we've collected with both systems concurrently. This is both running a tactical laser scanner, a deployable tactical laser scanner, and a top-down UAS. Basically, the UAS data is is a commercial imaging system. It's basically a Canon imager. Through photogrammetric processing, we're able to derive 3 different types of products. 3-dimensional point clouds, where the pixel is rendered as an XYZ point at resolutions down to 5 centimeters. Also, we're looking at orthorectified products. These are image maps, if you will. And then ultimately 3-dimensional thematic products with images draped over the 3D rendering. Some of the detail that we've been able to get is unsurpassed in tactical data at the soldier level, where soldiers need to see where sniping positions are, ingress, egress, and just areas about their immediate environment within the range of the bird and the laser scanner that can give them an idea of what's around them, and also be shared with other units in an in a way we call it crowdsource mapping. So if multiple units had these capabilities, then we would be getting information from all over, and that information could be logged to an enterprise. This has been largely an experiment because we're a laboratory and that's kind of what we do. So basically, we identified a unit going into theater, the 2nd Brigade, 101st Airborne out of Fort Campbell, Kentucky, and over a period of 10 days, instructed them in the use of this asset and how to make the geospatial products that I mentioned. The Cassidy mount at Fort Campbell is a forward operating position where we set up a processing station and train the soldiers for about 2 weeks. So this pre-deployment test demonstrated to us that soldiers were more than capable of handling this type of asset. The asset is light, it's expendable, it's actually cheap, it's on GSA, and the ability to make their own products was above and beyond what they'd been able to do, and above and beyond the top-down paradigm that we're really fighting against. What this image shows you here is the sorties that were flown in testing with the 2101. We had 6 sorties, and the most concentrated sortie was over the mount itself, representing literally hundreds of images that were processed on the site, in the mount, and all stitched together to make orthorectified products, 3-dimensional visual products.
And by the soldiers, too.
And by the soldiers, yeah. So basically what we ended up with, and the soldiers at their request, they did not want anything fancy. They didn't want near IR, they didn't want thermal, they wanted RGB. Straight up high resolution, 35 millimeter type RGB pictures. So we had 6 RGB orthomosaics in open source software. Fully half to a little bit more than half of our workflow was dedicated to open source software that they could have access to without having to pay an exorbitant price for processing. And this can give you an idea of the 4 to 5 centimeter pixel per resolution, ground resolution. So with a Google Earth background that is typically dated, sometimes more than dated, and at various resolutions, using GDAL plugins, which are open source, we were able to bring our orthomosaics into GDAL and look at the change on the ground and in the environment that they were operating in. This runs a little bit slow, but basically this is a 3D photogrammetric point cloud. If you're familiar with LiDAR, this is the photogrammetric version of that. This is the assignment of XYZ points to pixels. This is done as a function of photogrammetry when an elevation model is created. This is basically the elevation model or the 3D model with the imagery draped over it. And these are becoming quite a hot item, particularly for asymmetric vision purposes, which is part of the Army's new initiatives in robotic sensing. Elevation is another product that the 2101 was interested in, so we can give them very high resolution elevational data. And to kind of wind this down, the collections by the 2101 over the course of last year, based out of Erbil, in excess of 50 sorties, not only flown for the 2101 in support of the Battle for Mosul, but also leveraged support for the Canadians and other warfighters that were there in the area as part of the contingency. Can I say anything? I'll turn it over to Ricky now to talk about FMV to 3D mapping, which is a plugin he's developed for existing assets flying full motion video. I can take that.
Yeah. So the problem with the COTS off-the-shelf system is that these things are not ATEC approved. They have to go through the Army approval process to put them in the hands of soldiers. So when we brought this up to the Rapid Equipping Force, they said, well, we have 10,000 Ravens fielded to the Army. Why do we need more UAS platforms? So that's got us down the path of going the separate path of looking at the full motion video that's coming off the organic assets, Ravens, Pumas, all the way up through Gray Eagles and Reapers, and some of the ISR, the manned ISR mapping assets that we can use, and take that full motion video, process that either statically, take the file, or process it in real time, taking the live UDP stream and pulling off the KLV metadata that's encoded in there because it's a MISB standard. It's a standard across the DoD. and process the video frames and also that KLV into three-dimensional products in close to near real time. We're talking about minutes. So what is this? It's a GOTS and COTS software. So the GOTS software extracts the full motion video, does the analysis on the metadata, and creates a Python script which then throws it out to the COTS software, which is just a credit card purchase for us anyways, where we can put this on a laptop and then pull down any full motion video that's coming down. So this has been used successfully by a lot of special operations forces who are really interested in this with their Scan Eagle platforms or some of their manned ISR aircraft overseas where this has been used. So just an example, this is just a demo run here. This is a Wasabi collection over Adelaide, Australia, of a manned ISR aircraft flying at about 15,000 feet, HD video, and you can see it doing orbits around the center of Adelaide. The white is where the look angles of that full motion video is looking, and you can see that it's kind of centering on areas within Adelaide. Well, that's what the GOTS software does. It looks for clusters within that full motion video metadata and then throws that out to the COTS software to do the photogrammetric processing on. So you see those red areas where the algorithm identified clusters, and then after the processing of the video frames with the metadata from the COTS software, you get a three-dimensional point cloud from just the full motion video that was collected over that area. So this is a downtown Adelaide. So, I should say that this can be used with really any DoD asset that's collecting MISB standard data. So that's pretty much anything across the DoD. That's about it for us. Do we have any questions?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Right. Yeah, so the question was, what is the resolution from the full motion video products? And that's really a parameter of where, how the video is zoomed in. Is it zoomed in like a really narrow field of view? Because you can get pretty similar resolutions if that video is, say, centered on, like I had a video of an air traffic control tower where they centered on that for a while, did a full orbit. You can get really, centimeter level resolution on that. But then if you zoom back out, then you're of course going to get lower resolution. So it's really a product of how the video is collected. Yeah. Anybody else?
Thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank you.